The hospital's bright hallway echoed with a woman's piercing scream, not of childbirth, but of betrayal. The sterile scent of antiseptic couldn't hide the tension in the air. A young pregnant woman in a pale green hospital gown clutched her belly, gasping through tears, while another woman in a blazing red dress gripped her hair with fury. Doctors froze. Nurses hesitated. No one dared to step between them. It was chaos, raw, real, and devastating. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, then take a moment right now to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a reminder that life can twist in ways no one sees coming. The woman in the hospital gown was Emma. 7 months pregnant and fragile, both in body and spirit. She had come for a routine checkup, unaware that her world was about to collapse in public. Her husband, David, had been distant for months. Secret phone calls, late-night work meetings, and a coldness that no words could explain. Emma had felt it, deep down, the slow unraveling of a love she thought was eternal. But nothing prepared her for that morning. The woman in red was Lana, beautiful, confident, and merciless, David's mistress. She stormed into the hospital lobby with fire in her eyes and venom in her words. Her heels clicked like thunder as she spotted Emma standing near the reception. The next few moments blurred into a storm of shouting, tears, and humiliation. "You stole my life!" Lana screamed, grabbing Emma's hair, not caring that nurses and patients watched in shock. Emma tried to defend herself, crying out, "I don't even know you!" But Lana didn't stop. In that instant, the fragile woman nearly fell to her knees, her hands instinctively protecting her belly as pain rippled through her body. Behind them stood David, frozen, his face pale. The truth was out. Not only was he unfaithful, but his two worlds had collided in the cruelest way possible. And just when it seemed like Emma might collapse, an older man in a dark green coat entered the hospital. His silver hair glistened under the fluorescent lights, and his eyes widened in horror as he witnessed the chaos before him. That man was Richard, a wealthy businessman, and, unknown to Lana, her own estranged father. 25 years earlier, Richard had made a terrible mistake. When Lana's mother died in childbirth, he couldn't bear the grief. He left the infant with relatives and buried himself in work. Guilt consumed him, and though he sent money over the years, he never once looked his daughter in the eyes. Now fate had brought them face to face, in the worst possible way. Richard had come to the hospital that morning for a meeting with the hospital board. But when he saw the woman in red screaming and attacking a pregnant patient, something in his heart clenched. As he stepped closer, his eyes caught the faint birthmark on Lana's neck, the same one his late wife had. Time froze. He whispered, almost in disbelief, "Lana?" But she didn't hear him. She was too lost in rage and heartbreak. She turned again toward Emma, shouting about betrayal, about love stolen, about promises broken. Emma, trembling, clung to the nurse's counter for balance. Her tears fell freely now, not just from physical pain, but from the agony of realizing that her husband, the man she trusted with her soul, had been living a double life. David finally spoke, his voice shaking. "Stop it, both of you! This isn't what I wanted!" But his words came too late. Richard stepped forward and grabbed Lana's arm firmly. "Enough!" he thundered. The whole lobby went silent. Even Lana's anger paused as she turned to face the older man. "Who are you to touch me?" she spat. Richard's voice broke as he said, "I'm your father." Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. For a heartbeat, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. The man she had never known, the one she resented, all her life, was standing right before her. The same man she had cursed for abandoning her mother. Lana's grip loosened. Her knees trembled. The truth hit her harder than any slap ever could. Emma was rushed to a nearby chair, doctors checking her pulse and baby's heartbeat. The tension in the room slowly melted into confusion and shock. Lana stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. Richard reached out, his old eyes brimming with regret. "I looked for you for years," he said softly. "I wanted to tell you the truth, but I was a coward. I thought you'd hate me forever." Lana's lips quivered. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're lying." "I'm not," Richard replied. "Your mother's name was Grace. You were born with a small star-shaped mark on your neck. I held you once before I left, and I've regretted it every day since." The truth shattered her anger. Suddenly, the world felt too heavy, too cruel. She turned away, covering her face as tears streamed down her cheeks. The woman who had walked in with fury now stood trembling, broken by the weight of her own pain. David tried to approach her, but Richard stopped him with a firm hand. "You've done enough damage. Leave these women alone." For the first time, David looked truly ashamed. He glanced at Emma, whose face was pale but calm. Their marriage was over, and he knew it. He turned silently and walked out of the hospital, leaving behind the chaos he had created. Emma, still holding her stomach, whispered to the nurse, "Is my baby okay?" The doctor smiled softly. "The baby's heartbeat is strong. You're safe now." Tears of relief rolled down her face. She had lost her husband, but not her strength. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this painful chapter would lead her to something better. A new life where she and her child could find peace again. Richard sat beside Lana, his hand trembling as he touched hers. She didn't pull away. Years of anger slowly turned into sobs. "All this time," she said, "I thought I was unworthy of love. I thought every man I met would leave me like you did." Richard's heart ached. "I can't change the past, but I can promise you this. I'm not leaving again. You're my daughter, and I'm proud of you, even with all your mistakes." Those words pierced through Lana's bitterness like sunlight breaking through clouds. She looked at Emma, still sitting quietly nearby, and her heart softened. "I'm so sorry," she whispered through tears. "I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to be loved." Emma, exhausted but compassionate, nodded weakly. "We all do," she replied. "But we hurt others when we chase the wrong kind of love." Days passed. The scandal that had unfolded in that hospital became a story whispered by staff but remembered for its strange beauty. How one violent moment led to unexpected healing. Emma filed for divorce, but chose not to let bitterness rule her life. She focused on her unborn child, determined to raise them in love, not anger. Lana began therapy, slowly rebuilding her sense of worth and learning to forgive herself. And Richard became the father she never had. Protective, patient, and full of remorse turned into action. Months later, on a quiet spring morning, Emma gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Grace, after the woman who had unknowingly connected all their fates. When Richard and Lana visited the hospital to meet the newborn, the air was different this time. Soft, full of hope. Lana held the baby gently, tears glistening in her eyes. "She's beautiful," she whispered. Emma smiled faintly. "She's the start of a better life, for all of us." That day, forgiveness filled the room like sunlight after a storm. The same place that had witnessed anger and humiliation now echoed with the quiet peace of new beginnings. Sometimes life destroys us to rebuild us stronger. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most become the ones who teach us the meaning of compassion. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, because every story like this reminds us that redemption is possible, no matter how broken we are. Special request? Comment below. Do you believe that forgiveness can truly heal the deepest wounds?